Hello everyone, welcome back to Library Exam Hub. In today's exam oriented session, we will study one of the most important topics from BLI's 2020 Library Legislation and Model Public Library Act. This topic is frequently asked in UGC NET, KVS, NVS State Library Examination. By end of this lecture, you will understand the state policy, the need of library legislation and its component, and the major model acts in simple and memorable way. First, let's understand what is library legislation. Right? Library legislation is the legal foundation of a public library system. It defines how libraries are established, managed, financed, and governed. Its primary objective is to ensure that every citizen has free and equitable access to library and information services. Right? It's in many examinations, the term library legislation and public library act are used interchangeably. So remember them as the same concept. The question: legal legislation mainly provides option A library classification, option B legal framework, option C indexing rules, option D cataloging. The answer is before enacting a public library act, every state should formulate a state policy according to IGNOU test. This policy should ensure free services to all without discrimination, provide information services, preserve cultural heritage, and establish statewide library network, formulate a book selection policy, trained library staff, create trained library staff, arrange sustainable finance through library cess, support libraries run by local bodies and voluntary organizations. Now let's understand the need for library legislation. Before library legislation, many public libraries depend on donations and subscriptions. They often lack stable funding and proper administration and long-term planning. Right? Then library legislation addressed these weaknesses by providing a legal framework, an organized legal network, permanent finance through library cess, and accountability. As the UNESCO Public Library Manifesto establishes, public libraries are responsibility of nation and local authority. Let's look into question. Library legislation mainly helps in option A cataloging, option B permanent library finance, option C classification, option D indexing. Answer is permanent library. Like, let's understand the components of library legislation. A good Public Library Act includes several essential components. It begins with a clear preamble, establishes a state library authority, appoints a director of public libraries, creates a statewide library network, and specifies financial provisions including library cess, and develops a professional library cadre, ensures accountability, and provides for registration of publication and empowers authorities to frame rules for smooth administration. This table summarizes the essential components of a public library. For examination, remember that state library authority is responsible for policy and governance. The director oversees administration, and libraries provides a stable financial base. A clear understanding of these roles helps to solve many multiple choice questions quickly. Let's practice few questions on this topic. The table will help you to solve the answers. Like, which component provides a permanent source of finance? Option A rules, B libraries, C director, D preamble. Right? Before seeing answer, the answer is D libraries. We'll go for another question. Who supervises the public library system? Option A library committee, option B director of the Director of Public Libraries. Option C, local body. Option D, public libraries. The answer is Director of Public Libraries. Before discussing each act, it is helpful to understand library evaluation. Begins with Dr. S. R. Ranganathan's pioneer work in 1930. Gradually developed six major public library acts and bills. This document serves as guidelines for state governments while framing their own public library act. Remember this exam tip: RUMPV, like RUMPVI, Ranganathan, then Union Library Bill, then Ministry of Education Bill, then Planning Commission, then the Venkatappaya's Modern Library Act, then IJARI. The Model Union Library Act was drafted by S. R. Ranganathan in 1951. It proposes a national library authority, a central library, national library funds, national library committee. However, since libraries are listed as a state subject, and Union Library Act could not be enacted without a constitutional change, right? Here is to PYQ style question you can see here. Who drafted the Union Library Bill? Option A is like KP Sinha, B is K7, and C is MD Sen. Sorry, third option is missing, which is the answer. Like Dr. S. R. Ranganathan's Model Act is regarded as a foundation of library legislation in India. Its salient features include like State Library Authority, State Library Committee, Local Library Authority, and State-wide Library Network. And most important is like library set. You can see like visual flow, State Library Authority, district and city, then village. Remember for like important this point is very important for examination. The Model Act of S. R. Ranganathan because becomes the foundation of most state public library. So remember, first time S. R. Ranganathan introduced like library says. You can see you may get questions like this: which model act first emphasized local library authority? The answer is like Ranganathan Model Act. Ministry of Education constituted a committee under Dr. M.D. Sen, which prepared a model public library bill in 1960. It proposed state library, uh, state library authority, a directorate of libraries, district library committees, government service status for employees, and collection of cess, house tax and property tax. Like questions can be asked. Chairman of the committee preparing Ministry of Education model bill was option A S. R. Ranganathan, like C is KP Sinha, and D is like BS Kesavan. The answer is MD Sen. Planning Commission Model Bill 1953. The Planning Commission Model Bill focuses on creating an integrated library system which expert guidance. Unlike several other models, it did not recommended library sales. Remember this point. It did not recommend library sales. Instead, the responsibility of financing a public library system rested with the state government. Remember it, like planning commission, planning money, government funding, and no cess. Modern Library and Information Service Act. The request of Indian Library Association, Dr. V. Venkataya drafted a Model Public Library Act in 1989. It was later revised as the Model in Library and Information Services Act in 1995 and again in 2005 to reflect developments such as local self-government reforms and UNESCO Public Library Manifesto. The Act emphasized a state policy, information services, a statewide network extending to villages, professional library services, and libraries accountability. Right? Remember these points for examination. Quick comparison table, like you can see Model Act, Library Cess and Directorate and Information Services. Like Union Act, we don't have Library Cess, no Directorates and no Information Services. Ranganathan, yes, he proposed Library Cess but no Directorate and Information Services. Ministry of Education, yes, Library Cess and Directorate, yes, but no Information Services. The Planning Commission, no Library Cess, yes, yes, and no information service. And Venkatapaya suggested all the three. In public library legislation, a model for 21st century. The 21st century model proposed by Dr. S.R. Ijari expands the public library system into a comprehensive administration network. You can see it includes authority from the state level to down to the village level, establishes a state-centered reference library and library training. In research center and emphasize accountability through reports and inspection. And rest you can pass here and review. Comparison table is extremely important for computer examination. Notice that key differences, like Ranganathan emphasizes library cess, local authority. Commission bill. Planning Commission bill relies on government funding instead of Venkaiah focused on information services and Ijari proposed a comprehensive multiple layer network for 21st century. You can see the summary example question. Who drafted the Model Union Library Bill? I already mentioned the answer. Like you can look at yourself and revise the table. Key takeaways. Library legislation provides a legal foundation for library services. The state policy guides development of library information services. Sustainable finance and accountability. The center effective legislation. The six model acts or bill have influenced library development in India. Understanding the differences among these models is essential for computer examination. Now, thank you for your support. Congratulations, you have completed one of the most important topics in library legislation. If you found this lecture helpful, please like the video, subscribe to Library Exam Hub, and share it with your friends who are preparing for UGC NET, KVS, NVS, and State Library Examination. In next lecture, we will continue Public Library Acts in Indian states. Right?